My friends, there is a battle far greater than any fought on the outside. It is the battle within, and those who win it win everything. In a world obsessed with comparison, distractions, and the opinions of others, the strongest among us have learned a simple but powerful truth. Mental strength is built when you focus inward, not outward. You will not find clarity by scrolling through someone else's life. You will not find purpose in someone else's validation, and you will never find peace if your mind is always occupied by what others are thinking, doing, or achieving. To become mentally strong, you must reclaim your attention. You must make a decision today to stop outsourcing your energy, because when your focus is scattered, your power is diluted. Discipline begins in the silence of your own mind. Self-respect is forged in the promises you keep to yourself when no one is watching, and confidence is the result of countless moments when you chose growth over comfort. So ask yourself, when was the last time you sat with your thoughts, not to escape them, but to understand them? Focus on building the habits that make you unshakable. Focus on the voice inside that tells you the truth, even when it's hard. Focus on becoming so grounded in who you are that no praise inflates you, and no criticism deflates you. Because when you master yourself, you master your destiny. It's not about controlling the world around you. It's about leading the world within you. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. You don't need approval. You need alignment, and you don't need more motivation. You need more commitment. So walk your path, build your mind like a fortress, and remember, the strongest people you admire, they didn't get there by luck. They got there because they chose every single day to focus on themselves first. You must understand this fundamental truth. Your power grows where your focus goes. Every thought you entertain, every emotion you allow to linger, every minute you give away to the noise of the world. These are not just moments passing by. These are investments, and most people are investing in distractions, in doubt, in worry. They wake up and immediately reach for the outside world. They hand over their attention to opinions, to headlines, to gossip, to scrolling feeds designed not to strengthen them, but to steal from them. Now, let me ask you something very simple, yet critical. What are you choosing to focus on today? Because whether you realize it or not, you're building something every single day. You are either building strength or feeding weakness. You are either developing discipline or nurturing excuses. You are either feeding your faith or fueling your fear. And the direction of that growth is determined entirely by where your focus is placed. You see, no man or woman ever became strong by constantly looking outward. The strongest minds, the most resilient spirits, the ones who seem unshakable in the face of adversity, they didn't get there by watching others. They got there by looking inward. They got there by deciding that their attention was too precious to be wasted. They understood that when you give your focus to anything outside your control, you trade your power for anxiety. And when you place your focus on what you can control, your thoughts, your actions, your choices, you begin to tap into a reservoir of strength you didn't even know existed, and it starts small. It starts the moment you decide that your mind is no longer a dumping ground for fear, envy, or comparison. It starts the moment you say, enough. I choose where my attention goes. It starts when you realize that you are not a passive observer of your life. You are the architect of it. And focus is your tool. You will not find peace chasing shadows. You will not find power watching someone else live their dream. Focus on their wins, and you will feel less. Focus on your mission, and you will become more. The mind was not made to split itself 1,000 ways. It was made to concentrate, to create, to bring to life the very visions you hold inside. But it only works when you give it direction, intentionally, daily. That means learning to say no, no to distraction, no to the opinions that try to define you, no to the voice of doubt that says you're not ready, not capable, not enough. Because the truth is, you will never feel strong if your focus is always on the things that make you feel weak. You have to learn to guide your mind the way a captain guides a ship, firmly, decisively, and with great care, or it will drift, and drifting is the silent killer of purpose. The world will always offer you chaos. There will always be something trying to pull you away from yourself, but when you own your focus, you own your future. When you choose your thoughts, you shape your reality. And when you give your attention only to what builds you, what elevates you, what sharpens you, you become powerful beyond measure. This is not about ignoring reality. It's about deciding which reality you feed. You can feed the problems, or you can feed the possibilities. You can feed your frustration, or you can feed your future, but you cannot do both. Mental strength is not something you stumble into. It is forged in the fires of clarity and conscious focus. Every moment you choose to train your mind to stay present, to stay disciplined, to stay on purpose, you are sculpting yourself into someone the world cannot shake. And let me tell you, once you taste the power of focus, once you realize that everything you've ever wanted is on the other side of your scattered attention, there is no going back. You start waking up with intention. You stop reacting and start creating. You stop looking at what others are doing and start building what you were born to build. You begin to understand that true freedom is not the absence of responsibility, but the ability to direct your energy toward what truly matters. So I'll leave you with this. Your life is the result of your focus. Put it where it makes you stronger. Put it where it makes you unstoppable. Let us go deeper, because what I am about to tell you is not theory. It is truth tested in the lives of every person who has ever risen beyond the ordinary. Self-mastery comes before external success. You can try to build wealth, chase recognition, or climb any ladder you choose. But if you have not first mastered the terrain of your own mind, your success will be temporary at best and self-destructive at worst. A person who lacks command over their thoughts, their emotions, and their habits is like a ship without a rudder, impressive in appearance, but directionless and at the mercy of every wave. The world will try to convince you that achievement is about strategy, timing, or connections. Those things may matter, yes, but only after you've done the inner work. Without self-mastery, success becomes a burden. With it, success becomes a natural extension of who you are. Understand this. You do not rise in life by accident. You rise by alignment. And alignment begins within. If your thoughts are in conflict with your values, if your actions betray your own standards, if your heart is chasing one thing and your mind another, you will remain divided, and a divided person is a weakened person. Mental strength begins the moment you decide to become whole, the moment you commit to living in integrity with yourself. Now, I ask you to consider, what kind of leader are you to your own mind? Do you give your thoughts structure and direction? Or do you let them wander without purpose? Do you hold yourself accountable to your goals when no one else is looking? Or do you wait to be motivated from the outside? Because let me tell you something, no external force will ever do the inner work for you. No mentor, no book, no opportunity can replace the power of self, discipline, and internal clarity. You must build the habits that shape you into someone worthy of trust. Your own trust every day is a test. A test of whether you can keep a promise to yourself. A test of whether you choose growth over comfort. A test of whether you stand by your values even when it costs you. These are not dramatic moments. They are quiet, ordinary decisions. The decision to get up early when your body says sleep. The decision to focus when the world says scroll. The decision to do it right, not just do it fast. These small decisions are where self-mastery is earned. And with self-mastery comes power, the kind of power that doesn't need to shout, the kind of power that doesn't need to prove anything to anyone, the power of restraint, the power of direction, the power of presence. Because a person who has mastered themselves is no longer tossed around by circumstance. They are calm in crisis, they are clear in chaos, and they are confident not because of what they have, but because of who they've become. Look around you. How many people do you see chasing achievement without understanding themselves? They reach a goal and feel empty. They get applause and still feel inadequate. They climb a mountain only to find there's nothing at the top that can fill what's lacking within. Why? Because they never learned to lead their own mind before leading a business, a team, a brand, a dream, and so they build castles on sand. You, on the other hand, must begin with the foundation. You must do the hard, unglamorous work of mastering your attention, your emotions, your habits. You must become fluent in the language of your own mind. Know what strengthens it, what weakens it, what triggers it, and what brings it back to center. You must be the kind of person who can sit in silence, hear their own thoughts, and not be disturbed by them. This isn't about control for the sake of control, it's about freedom, real freedom, the kind of freedom that doesn't depend on how the day goes or what others say. When you have mastered yourself, you do not need the world to behave a certain way for you to feel strong. You are strong by choice, not by circumstance. This is the path of mental strength. It does not begin with noise. It begins with awareness. You must become so deeply rooted in your identity, in your values, in your vision, that nothing can pull you away from it. Not praise, not criticism, not even failure, because when you know who you are, you can withstand anything that tries to shake that truth. Let me tell you this, there is no lasting success without self-leadership. There is no influence without self-discipline. There is no mental strength without self-respect. And self-respect is earned, not demanded. It is earned in the quiet moments when you do what's right, even when it's hard. When you delay gratification, when you practice patience, when you take responsibility not only for your actions, but for your mindset, so do not chase the illusion of strength that comes from titles or applause. Chase the real thing. Chase the strength that cannot be taken from you, the strength that is built when you master yourself, and, by doing so, unlock your full capacity to master your life. Discipline and consistency build inner strength. This is a law as real as gravity. There is no shortcut around it. You can dream, you can visualize, you can plan, but unless you move with discipline and follow through with consistency, your mental strength will remain an ideanator reality. Let us not confuse momentary effort with sustained growth. Many people are strong for a day, committed for a week, disciplined for a month, but the ones who become unshakable, they are the ones who show up long after the mood has faded, long after the applause has quieted, long after the excitement of the goal has worn off. Because they understand that true inner strength is not a product of how hard you can push once. It's the result of how steady you can stay over time. Look closely at any person who has built something of substance, whether it's a business, a skill, a legacy, and you'll find behind it 1,000 ordinary, disciplined days, days when it would have been easier to quit, easier to delay, easier to choose comfort, but they didn't. They got up, they did the work, and they kept going, not because they felt like it every time, but because they had made a decision that mattered more than how they felt. That is the secret. Mental strength is not emotional hype. It's a commitment to follow through even when your feelings scream otherwise. It's waking up on a cold morning when your body wants to rest and saying, I don't negotiate with excuses. It's doing the workout, writing the page, practicing the craft, making the hard phone call, choosing honesty, choosing courage, choosing action, not just once, but again and again until the habit becomes your new identity. Discipline is the training ground of mental strength. It is the daily test of whether you truly mean what you say you want. People talk about desire, but desire without discipline is delusion. Everyone wants results. Few are willing to endure the repetition. But repetition is what shapes character. Repetition is where you sharpen the mind, shape the will, and reinforce belief in yourself. And let me tell you something vital. The world will not reward your intentions. It rewards your consistency. It rewards your ability to move forward when the initial excitement is gone and all that's left is your decision, because that's when it counts. That's when your mind is either forged into steel or softened by excuse. The grind, the routine, the habits, these are the tools, the shaping stones, the chisels, and every time you choose the hard thing, you chip away the weakness in you. You sculpt resilience. You build trust with yourself. That's another thing, self-trust. You want to feel stronger. Keep your word to yourself. Nothing builds confidence faster than doing what you said you would do. It doesn't need to be flashy. You don't need to broadcast it. It could be as simple as setting a goal to read 10 pages and reading 10 pages, saying you'll train 4 times a week and training 4 times a week, deciding to stay calm in a difficult conversation and following through. These are small victories, yes, but strung together, they build a mind that is unbreakable. Don't underestimate the power of consistency just because it feels small. It is in the small, daily disciplines that greatness hides. It is in the quiet choices that no one sees that your strength is being formed. A fortress is not built in a day. It is built one brick at a time. Lay yours and keep laying them, rain or shine, energy or fatigue. Motivation or none, your feelings do not define your capacity. Your decisions do. There will be days you slip, yes, you will fall short, you will lose rhythm, but mental strength is not perfection. It is the resolve to return, to reset, to begin again, without self-pity, without excuses, without delay. You get back on track, you honor the path, because the goal is not to never fall. The goal is to become the kind of person who cannot stay down for long. That kind of strength, it cannot be faked. You earn it, and you know when you've earned it because you start to feel it. It's in the way you carry yourself, in the way you respond under pressure, in the way you hold your ground when others fold. You become someone who doesn't panic, who doesn't complain, who doesn't retreat, not because life is easy, but because you are trained through discipline, conditioned through consistency. You don't need to be the smartest. You don't need to be the most talented. But if you can be the one who shows up when it's hard, if you can be the one who keeps their word when no one's watching, if you can be the one who keeps walking while others are waiting, you will become the strongest person in the room. Not in noise, but in presence, not in status, but in self-control. Let others chase the next trick. Let others search for secrets. You build brick by brick. You build strength by showing up. You build belief by doing hard things on purpose. You make consistency your way of life, not because it's easy, but because it's what separates those who wish from those who win. Stop outsourcing validation. This may be one of the hardest truths you'll ever confront, and one of the most liberating. Because as long as your confidence, your decisions, your sense of identity are built upon the approval of others, you are not free, you are not strong, you are simply performing, hoping that someone, somewhere, will tell you that you are enough. But let me ask you this, how long will you wait for someone to give you permission to believe in yourself? How many times will you silence your own voice in favor of theirs? How much of your life are you willing to sacrifice on the altar of their opinions? The strongest people you know, the ones who walk with quiet certainty, who speak without seeking applause, who remain grounded no matter who praises or criticizes them, they got there by cutting the cord of dependency on outside validation. They stopped asking the world for approval and started giving it to themselves. And until you do the same, you will always live at the mercy of other people's judgments. You see, when your self-worth is tethered to another person's reaction, you give them power they didn't earn and don't deserve. If they approve, you feel high. If they disapprove, you spiral. This is not strength. It is slavery. The strongest minds do not rise and fall on the tides of others' opinions. They are rooted in something deeper, self-respect. Self-respect is not arrogance. It is not about thinking you're better than anyone. It is the unshakable knowing that you are worthy, not because someone said so, but because you live in alignment with your truth. Because you've shown up for yourself, because you've done the hard work, because you've looked in the mirror and decided to trust that the voice inside you matters more than the noise outside you. Understand this. Validation is addictive. It feels good, it's seductive, and it can even look like success. But it's fragile, and the moment the praise stops coming, or the crowd changes its opinion, or someone disapproves, the illusion crumbles. And what are you left with? Emptiness, doubt, confusion, because the strength wasn't built internally, it was borrowed, and borrowed strength will always expire. You must reclaim your power. You must stop measuring your worth with someone else's ruler. You must stop shrinking to fit into boxes they've drawn for you. You are not here to be liked by everyone. You are here to become fully, unapologetically yourself, and that requires courage. It requires standing tall even when you are misunderstood, even when your choices make others uncomfortable, even when your growth forces others to confront their own stagnation. The need to be liked is a prison. It keeps you small. It makes you afraid to take risks. It leads you to say yes when your soul screams no. It turns your life into a performance instead of a mission, and every time you betray yourself to win someone's approval, you trade short-term comfort for long-term weakness. But when you start choosing self-respect over acceptance, something powerful happens. You begin to build strength from within. You start to trust your own judgment. You stop explaining yourself. You stop chasing people. You begin to lead rather than follow, and make no mistake, the world respects those who respect themselves, not those who shout the loudest or flaunt the most, but those who are consistent, calm, grounded, and unaffected by the winds of public opinion. Because when you no longer need validation, you're finally free to do what's right instead of what's popular, and that, my friend, is rare. It means you can walk into a room and not wonder what they think of you, but instead wonder how you can serve, how you can build, how you can move the mission forward. You stop chasing impressions and start making an impact. You stop worrying about being seen and you start seeing clearly. The irony is, the less you need to be liked, the more people respect you, not because you bent to them, but because you rose above needing them. But here's the challenge. Letting go of validation doesn't mean becoming numb or hardened. It means becoming clear. It means knowing the difference between feedback and approval. You can be open to feedback and still not let it define you. You can listen, learn, adapt, but without losing yourself. That is the mark of maturity. That is mental strength, to hold firm in who you are and still grow. And yes, there will be loneliness at first. When you stop living for validation, some people will walk away, but let them go. Because what you lose in approval, you gain in clarity. And what you lose in applause, you gain in peace. You begin to see that your life is too valuable to be shaped by the shifting moods of others. That your path cannot be determined by people who don't walk it with you. that your future cannot be entrusted to those who don't understand your vision. The moment you stop outsourcing validation is the moment you begin to build real power. Quiet, invisible power, the kind of power that keeps you grounded when others are falling apart, the kind of power that makes you immovable in the face of judgment, the kind of power that doesn't need to be seen to be real. It's the power of someone who is at home with themselves, who has nothing to prove and nothing to hide, who can stand in any room, speak with calm certainty, and act without seeking permission. That is the kind of strength that cannot be shaken, because it was never built on someone else's opinion in the first place, and once you build it, no one can take it from you. Protect your energy like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. Your energy is the invisible force that determines how you think, how you feel, how you respond, and how you show up for the people and pursuits that matter most. And yet, far too many people hand that energy over to anyone and anything without hesitation, without awareness, without boundary. You must come to understand this truth. Not everything deserves your attention, not everyone deserves your access, and not every battle is worth your energy. Mental strength is not just about what you do, it's about what you don't allow. It's about what you say no to, what you walk away from, and what you refuse to carry. Too often, we let the wrong things take root in our minds. We replay conversations that drain us. We dwell on criticisms from people who don't even know our heart. We engage in arguments that serve no purpose but to feed our ego. We surround ourselves with people who take more than they give, who doubt more than they believe, who gossip more than they grow. And we wonder why we feel depleted. We wonder why we struggle to think clearly, to stay calm, to stay focused. But hear me when I say this, you do not have unlimited energy. Every thought you entertain, every emotion you indulge, every person you allow into your inner circle, these things either recharge you or drain you. They either build your mental strength or chip away at it, and you must be ruthless, not cruel, not cold, but ruthless, in protecting that energy. If you are serious about becoming stronger, start by paying attention. Pay attention to what leaves you feeling heavy. Pay attention to who interrupts your peace. Pay attention to the environments that pull you out of alignment, and once you notice it, don't ignore it, because what you tolerate, you allow to shape you. And over time, what drains you will define you. Unless you learn to protect your space, you are not obligated to answer every message. You are not required to explain yourself to everyone. You do not owe your time to people who do not value it. And you certainly are not here to rescue others at the cost of your own sanity. You cannot give from an empty place. You cannot lead others if you are constantly trying to recover from the weight of your own exhaustion. This is not selfishness, this is stewardship. You are responsible for the energy you carry, for the frequency you operate on, for the space you bring into every room. When you are full, when you are clear, when you are at peace, you are far more effective, far more present, and far more powerful. And here's something most people overlook. Protecting your energy isn't just about people. It's also about what you consume. The media you scroll, the headlines you absorb, the negativity you entertain. Your mind is a garden. If you let weeds grow unchecked, fear, anger, distraction, they will choke out the seeds of strength you are trying to plant. You must be intentional with what you let in. You must filter not just food for the body, but food for the mind. You don't rise by feeding yourself chaos. You rise by feeding yourself clarity, stillness, truth, encouragement, discipline. Choose inputs that elevate you. Choose conversations that sharpen you. Choose books that challenge you. Choose silence over noise when silence helps you return to yourself. It is better to have a small, powerful circle than to be surrounded by people who pollute your purpose. Choose people who remind you of your strength, not your fears. People who call you higher, not who hold you hostage to who you used to be. People who respect your boundaries, not who guilt you for having them. You are not here to carry dead weight. You are here to grow, to lead, to build, to move. And for that, you need to stay light, stay focused, and stay aligned. Protecting your energy also means learning the art of strategic withdrawal. You don't need to fight every battle. You don't need to prove every point. You don't need to react to every slight. There is wisdom in restraint. There is strength in walking away. There is power in letting people misunderstand you if explaining yourself costs you your peace. Not every comment deserves a reply. Not every challenge deserves a reaction. Your energy is sacred. Treat it that way. Guard it the same way you would guard your most valuable possession, because in truth it is. And when you begin to protect your energy with that level of seriousness, you will notice something profound. You will begin to reclaim your time. You will begin to think more clearly. You will begin to feel lighter, more confident, more creative. You will make better decisions. You will stop second guessing yourself. You will act with more purpose and less pressure, because the weight of everyone else's noise will no longer sit on your shoulders. Protecting your energy is not about isolating yourself from the world. It's about strengthening yourself so you can face the world with clarity, resilience, and intention. It's about knowing when to engage and when to pause, when to speak and when to stay silent, when to push forward and when to retreat and recalibrate. And the more you do it, the more you train your mind to recognize what belongs and what doesn't. You become sharper, quicker to detect what pulls you off course, less tolerant of what doesn't serve your vision. That is how you rise, not in a frenzy, not in reaction, but with calm, steady, quiet strength. Mental strength is not just built in the moments you push through adversity. It is also built in the moments you choose not to invite adversity where it isn't necessary. It is built in your ability to conserve your fire for the battles that matter, to say, not today, to the distractions. To say, that's not mine to carry, to other people's chaos, to say, I choose peace. When your ego tempts you with drama, this is discipline of a different kind, the discipline to stay in alignment. To value your energy so deeply that you no longer allow it to be spent on what drains, distracts, or diminishes you. Face discomfort instead of fleeing from it. That's the real test of your mental strength, not how well you perform when everything is going smoothly, but how you respond when everything inside you wants to retreat, avoid, escape. Because the truth is, every ounce of growth, every drop of progress, every step toward a stronger mind requires that you pass through discomfort instead of trying to walk around it. Discomfort is not your enemy. In fact, it is often your greatest teacher. It's the sharp edge that cuts through illusion and exposes what you really believe about yourself. It shows you where you're still holding fear. It reveals where you've placed limits. It uncovers the places you've been protecting from pressure because deep down, you haven't yet developed the strength to face them. But you cannot become stronger without facing what is uncomfortable. That's how mental muscles are built. In the gym, you don't grow by lifting what's easy. You grow by choosing resistance. The same applies to your mind. The moment you choose to lean into discomfort, whether it's fear, uncertainty, failure, criticism, or change, you begin to build a different kind of strength, one that no one can take from you. Avoidance is a silent thief. It promises relief but delivers stagnation. You put off the hard conversation and the tension lingers. You bury your fears instead of addressing them, and they grow louder in the dark. You numb your pain with distractions, but it waits patiently until you're quiet again. Avoiding discomfort may feel safe in the moment, but over time it weakens your foundation. It keeps you soft when life demands strength. It keeps you stuck when you were meant to rise. The key is to reframe the way you see discomfort. It's not punishment, it's preparation. It's not something to escape, it's something to study. When you feel resistance, pay attention. When your instincts scream, run. Lean in and ask, what am I avoiding? Often, it is the very thing you are afraid to face that holds the power to unlock your next level of strength. Because strength isn't just found in how you act when you're winning. It's forged in how you stand up again after you've been knocked down. There will be moments when everything in you wants to run from the pain, from the fear of failure, from the unknown, from the pressure of expectation. But if you want to grow, you must stop asking, how do I escape this? And start asking, what is this here to teach me? Because discomfort always carries a lesson. If you're willing to listen, it might be telling you to let go, or to set a boundary, or to face a fear you've been carrying for years. But you'll never receive the reward if you keep refusing the challenge. And let me tell you something else, discomfort will always visit those who choose to live with intention. If you want to drift through life, comfort will gladly offer you its false safety. But the price is your potential. It costs you your edge, it keeps your gifts buried, but if you want to rise, if you want to build something that matters, then you must accept that discomfort is not a detour on the path, it is the path. You grow every time you do the thing you once avoided, when you sit with the silence instead of reaching for distraction, when you confront your weakness instead of hiding behind false confidence, when you speak your truth even though your voice shakes, when you take the risk that might fail but could also free you. These are the moments where mental strength is earned, moment by moment, choice by choice, and it doesn't need to be dramatic. Sometimes, facing discomfort is as simple as showing up when you don't feel ready. Admitting you were wrong, asking for help, starting again, saying no, saying yes, taking the next step with trembling hands. These are acts of strength, not because they are loud, but because they are honest. Because they are real and because they take courage. Most people want courage without cost. They want the confidence without the climb. They want clarity without ever being confused. But it doesn't work that way. Strength doesn't arrive fully formed. It's shaped in the tension, molded in the pressure, crafted in the moments when you feel like breaking, but choose instead to keep going. This is where your power begins to rise. When you start to see discomfort not as a sign that something is wrong, but as a sign that something is changing, that something in you is being called higher. And the moment you stop fearing that feeling is the moment you start living differently. You stop waiting to feel ready, you stop needing permission, you stop looking for an easier way. You begin to trust that if it's hard, it's probably worth it. And here's the most beautiful part. The more you face discomfort, the less power it has over you. What once terrified you becomes manageable. What once overwhelmed you becomes familiar. What once made you shrink now sharpens your focus, because discomfort, when faced consistently, becomes your training ground. And before long, you realize you've become someone who no longer runs from fire, but walks through it, calm and determined, because you know that you've been through worse and risen every time. Mental strength is not the absence of discomfort, it's your ability to stand inside it and still choose who you want to become. And if you can do that, if you can stay present, stay honest, and stay grounded in the face of discomfort, there is no storm you cannot face, no challenge you cannot endure, no version of yourself you cannot become.